Arizona's legislative leader testified before the January 6th committee, Rusty Bowers. Bill Barr has testified before the January 6th committee. Others have. They all said Trump was out of his mind. The election wasn't stolen. It's all nonsense. And they've all been asked and said they would still support Donald Trump in 2024. There is a large contingent of Republicans who don't care for Donald Trump and don't think the election was stolen and are glad he's gone, who, if he were the Republican nominee in 2024, would vote for him. And Democrats have explained that as Republicans are latent fascists or open fascists or anti-democratic, or they don't care about the country. Actually, maybe the Democrats should wonder, why would a group of Republicans who don't like Donald Trump, don't think the election was stolen, and are glad he's gone, vote for him over them? The Democrats are completely lacking in self-awareness. Completely lacking self-awareness. It is the Democrats who are grooming our children. It is the Democrats who are teaching our kids that they are either racist or victims of racism at all times. It is the Democrats who have driven gas prices through the roof and caused inflation. It is the Democrats who are showing weakness to Russia and China, promising Ukraine military help and not actually delivering it. It is the Democrats who are capitulating to Iran and the Middle East. It is the Democrats who are trying to prop up third world dictators like the guy in Venezuela to get gas from him so they don't have to get gas here. It's the Democrats who laugh and say, "Ha ha, buy an electric car, you rubes." There are a lot of Republicans who don't like Donald Trump, don't think the election is stolen, and they'd vote for him in a heartbeat over any Democrat because the Democrats are so insistent that the Republicans are the fascists, they can't even see the fascism in their own party. The Democrats cannot see the dictatorial, authoritarian, high-handed nature of their own party, of their people who embrace cancel culture and want to silence and shut up anyone who disagrees with them. The Democrats cannot see that the authoritarian left and the environmental movement and the abortion movement, they're the ones out there being the terrorists these days. They focus on, the white nationalists, the right of center terrorism. We've had some abortion or pregnancy centers firebombed in the last few weeks. It wasn't right-wingers doing it. It wasn't right-wingers vandalizing the churches and pregnancy centers out there. Wasn't right-wingers doing any of that. It's not the right-wingers out there sabotaging railway lines that are hauling oil in this country. It's not the right-wingers doing any of that. But the Democrats can't bring themselves to police the crazy on their own side. It is one reason I am so insistent on not engaging the nonsense over the stolen election stuff in 2020. Do I think there were problems? There were absolutely problems. Were they enough to affect the outcome of the election? No, they were not. And to the people who have just glommed onto it and demanded that they're victims and the race was stolen, I've got no use for them at this point because they refuse to move on and recognize the real threat that's out there, which is a Democratic Party that is indoctrinating our children, trying to, in some cases, groom them, trying to wreck our economy. And these people are still butthurt over 2020 and losing. And they're coming up with cockamamie conspiracy theories to justify the loss instead of accepting the loss and moving on and trying to win to the future. Oh, but we can't because we have to figure out how they stole it in 2020. They didn't, you idiots. Move on. We've got big threats right in front of us, and you're too busy looking behind. We got big threats with the Democratic Party out there that keeps telling us none of these things are happening until they happen, and then we're got to accept them or you're a bigot and you need to be canceled. It's one of my most frustrating things here. The number of grifters, hucksters, frauds, and charlatans who are cashing in on senior citizens who are convinced an election was stolen and what wasn't stolen and don't want you to see the fight ahead. They don't want you to see what's in front of us. They want you to cling bitterly to a past that was not. Instead of dealing with the reality of a present America, where the Democrats and the media won the 2020 election because so many people got tired of Donald Trump. But we have an opportunity for great success in 2022 if we're willing to stick together. And these people aren't willing to stick together. In Georgia, where I am, they're complaining and saying, well, I'm not going to vote at all because Brian Kemp's no better than Stacey Abrams. Really? If you're that stupid, you don't need to vote. Stupid people don't need to vote, and you're a stupid person. The stories that continue to crop up, there was a teacher who several months ago came to prominence attacking conservatives, saying that these conservatives call us groomers. They claim that we're pedophiles. They're projecting. They're probably the ones who are doing this to the kids. That guy went viral. The Democrats touted him. Liberal social media icons retweeted him. That guy's just been arrested for grooming children, sexually assaulting a 13-year-old, I believe it was. We got real fights culturally, politically, economically in the country. And I'm really done with the people who not only can't recognize the election was won by Joe Biden, but want to excuse the bad behaviors of the people who stormed into the home of the daughter-in-law of Brad Raffensperger, who harassed his family, who have poured out invective, who've caused these election workers to have security at their homes, who fear for their lives. I mean, these people are menaces. They don't need to be a part of the process. They've taken it too personally. They need to be deprogrammed. They need to go step away from politics and the news headlines and reconnect with reality. But for you Democrats who are not in along with that, you need to do some self-examination and reevaluation yourself. There are hundreds of thousands, millions of Americans who aren't fans of Donald Trump and will gladly vote for him, knowing what all we know, over any of you, and none of you want to ask yourselves why that is without actually pouring invective and hate on those people. They're good, law-abiding, God-fearing American citizens who are more worried about what you want to do with the country than what Donald Trump wanted to do with the country. Last I checked, high unemployment, a recession, inflation, massive gas prices, and all the other economic problems we have right now did not exist under Donald Trump, but they do exist under the Democrats. And maybe y'all should do some self-reflection and get some self-awareness on why so many Americans who aren't happy with the January 6th situation, who do not like it, who think it's bad and don't like Donald Trump, would still rather go with the Republicans and Donald Trump than with any of you. But you are philosophically, fundamentally incapable of doing that because you don't understand you got a bunch of turds in your punch bowl too.